Okay, welcome back to the LetHub seminars. We're here today with Aranya Bhattacharya from SINP. You all will know him as one of the speakers at the recently concluded ST4, where he gave a very nice series of lectures on complexity, various aspects of complexity. And today he's going to tell us about some recent work on area and volume in multi-boundary wormhole models. Aranya, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Madhu. And thank you for giving this opportunity to speak. So I'll be talking about the recent works that I have been doing since maybe last 6 months or so. So the topic, as you can see, is area and volume in multi-boundary wormhole models. I'll basically talk about a few models or simple models that have been introduced in regards to the recent developments regarding island, and this will be based on this archive number and an ongoing work. So yeah. So to begin with, I'll talk about what multi-boundary wormholes. I'll be more specific about in 3 dimensions. So in MT-ADS3 has a solution of Einstein's equations with, so ADS means solutions with constant negative curvatures, and MT-ADS3 as a constant negative curvature solution has maximal amount of symmetry, and therefore we can get any other solutions in ADS3 or asymptotically ADS3 by removing symmetries through quotienting or bifolding the MT-ADS3 solution. So I will come back to this point that what do I mean by quotienting or removing symmetries or introducing isometries. And this multi-boundary wormhole geometries in ADS3 are geometries where we assume that there would be, say, it is an n-boundary wormhole. So at each of the boundaries, there lives a CFT, which is in general independent from all the CFTs living at other exits. And they are all connected by this wormhole. So the way we realize this wormhole solutions is by removing semicircles from a, it is easier to realize by removing semicircles from a time slice of MT-ADS3 and identifying the geodesic boundary of the removed semicircles or the anchored geodesics, bulk geodesics. And these give rise to the new boundaries. So to begin with, we can also realize this is also due to the fact that all the solutions in ADS3 are locally the same. So we can also start by realizing BTZ from MT-ADS3 time slice. And how do we do that? So let's say this is T is equal to 0 time slice, and we are taking a Poincare upper half plane. So we have decompactified the Poincare disk, and let's say we remove, so one has to also be careful about removing the fixed points in this case. And for example, the blue point in this picture is a fixed point, which would otherwise give rise to, when you try to realize a BTZ from pure ADS3 slice, these fixed points would, if you don't remove them, these would give rise to some situation where there would be curvature singularities or not well-defined curvatures at point of your fundamental domain or the region that you really want to consider as the BTZ. So here we remove this point, and so the fundamental domain would be the, or the region of the BTZ would be the region in between these two red semicircles. And in here the boundaries of the exits, so you can see the cylinder and the boundaries would be at the two sides of it. For example, in this case, A and B are the boundaries of the two-sided BTZ. And for example, when you draw a Penrose diagram of the T at the T is equal to 0 point, you would see a bifurcation point between the two sides of the BTZ, and that bifurcation point is this throat horizon or this dotted line that we have drawn here. So this is sort of the minimal distance between all of the lines that you could take between these two semicircles. I would like to remind you that although I have drawn the Poincare upper half plane and it simply looks like two semicircles. So for example, you could think that this length is same as the, or if you take this upper directed direction, and if you calculate the length from this blue fixed point that I have removed, so this radius would not be same as the radius in the boundary, because this is in general in hyperbolic space and the boundary is not. So this is a two-sided BTZ with the picture I have drawn is of a Poincare upper half plane. There exists only one throat horizon, which is the vertical dotted line, and two removed semicircles of R0 and lambda R0 of same orientation. So orientations will play a role in here. For example, in a Poincare disk, you could draw one geodesic, bulk geodesic, but it could have two opposite orientations. And in case of a BTZ, it is necessary to take the orientations of this two semicircles to be the same. And
Sorry.
this,
So,
yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm not looking at the figure correctly, but then, I mean, it looks like the arrows are pointing in different directions. Is that?
No. So they are.
Oh, so they're both going.
They're
both going clockwise. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So and the removed semicircles are of radius R0 and lambda R0. This lambda can be realized from a killing vectors perspective, which I'll talk later about. And this lambda is basically comes into the picture due to dilatation operator on this R0 semicircle. So you can realize different semicircles in the Poincare disk by introducing different generators of killing vectors, where different killing vectors correspond to different conformal transformations. For example, dilatations, special conformal transformations, and so on. So this lambda is due to a dilatation operator. So how do you realize a three-boundary wormhole then? So the way to realize it is, we had already removed this R0 and lambda R0 radius semicircles. Now we have to remove two semicircles at each time to realize one more boundary. So to introduce one more boundary, you had two boundaries A and B in here. Now you want to have three boundaries. So A would be this thing, but B and C, to realize B and C, you have to introduce two more semicircles, which will be of opposite orientations. So here you can see the blue geodesics have different directions, and there now would be, for example, in case of a two-sided BTZ, there was only a single throat horizon, but in case of three boundary wormhole, there will be three independent throat horizons, and you could realize them. For example, L1 would be the previous one that we had already dealt with. L2 would be the blue one between this later removed semicircles, and L3 would be disconnected into two parts, which is L3R in the right hand side, which goes here, and L3L, which is in this part.
Okay, Aranya, I have a question.
Yeah.
What is? I mean, you said that there are different orientations. So why is that?
So these the way. So these are due to the isometries that you have to. For example, I have removed this part, and the way in case of a two-sided BTZ you really do this stuff is to map all the points from this curve with this curve. So
right.
When you are mapping the points, you would only get to a three-boundary wormhole. For example, in case of a three-boundary wormhole, if you map the points of this geodesic and this geodesic in a way that their orientations are different, opposite. So had you started with the orientation which was same for both of them, you would not get a isometry that you are looking for to generate the three-boundary wormhole.
I see.
So to map the points of these two removed semicircles systematically, you have to define the orientations.
I see. Thank you.
And this in the Poincare disk could look like simply this. So the two red geodesics or two red semicircles correspond to this two, and the blue ones are these. So different throat horizons are also mentioned here. So the black one is corresponds to the purple one here.
It's L3L and L3R.
Yeah. So L3L is this one, and L3R is this one, and L3L is this one. And so this is sort of a decompactified version of this. So you say realize the upper one as the bigger semicircle if you decompactify this whole circle into a straight line. And if you start with an empty ADS3 metric and Poincare patch, which looks like this metric, and you deal with all the killing vectors that this metric can have. So there are 6 typical killing vectors, and these form a SO22 algebra. And multi-boundary wormholes are quotients of ADS3 by some discrete set of isometries. For example, in case of a 2-boundary wormhole, it would be the isometry would be SL2, R quotiented by Z2. Let me not go.
Sorry, can you say that again, please?
For multi-boundary, for two-sided BTZ, the isometries that you would look for
SL2R mod, yeah, right.
SL2R mod Z2. So in general, it would be, you could say it would be PSL2R for more general cases. For 3-boundary case, you would have in spite of Z2, you would have something different. But what can be done is using these killing vectors that I'll talk in a minute. So in case of, I have already mentioned that in case of a 2-boundary wormhole, you didn't have this blue semicircles, and you would have a simple throat horizon, or a single throat horizon. But in case of 3-boundary one, which is in this picture, you would have actually 3 throat horizons, this red one, this blue one, and on both sides of this blue one, you would have 2 parts of the third throat horizon. So starting from a 3-boundary wormhole, you would have more than, for example, for an n-boundary wormhole, you would have certain numbers of throat horizons, which, and in principle, using the isometries, the statement goes like this, that all of the length of these different throat horizons can be tuned independently by tuning the parameters through which you remove this semicircle. So in the Poincare disk, you could mark them as certain theta or alpha values, and you could realize these geodesics that you are removing to get these newer boundaries, and simply changing those theta and alpha values, you could independently tune a throat horizon for a particular exit. And this has been recently shown explicitly in Lorentzian 3-boundary wormhole construction. The work was done by Elena Caceres, Arnab Kundu, Ann Patra, and Sanjit Shashi. And it was a very recent work. And they showed that by this killing vector treatment, and you can systematically remove isometries and construct a general n-boundary G genus wormhole, where I have already mentioned how you realize an extra boundary in your picture. So you have to remove 2 semicircles at a point, or at each step you have to keep removing 2 more semicircles in this side. But if you remove a semicircle in this side and 1 in this side, so if you remove 2 semicircles from different sides of this concentric smaller semicircle, and if you identify points between these 2, then the picture goes like this in the cylindrical picture, where you simply pinch these 2 and realize them, and then you go to a 1-boundary 1 genus wormhole. Similarly, whenever you are dealing with removed semicircles, so all you need to do to construct a n-boundary G genus multi-boundary wormhole is to remove semicircles in either sides of this concentric smaller semicircle, and you have to identify them in a systematic way so that you get to a multi-boundary wormhole with your pre-decided number of boundaries and number of genus.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is nobody else asking questions? um, okay, so let me just ask. So is the
Yeah.
idea from the picture on the left to all the way to the picture on the right that if you have a particular set of like you remove these pieces and then you make identifications and that gives
Yeah.
you different like plumbing fixtures. Is that,
Yeah.
can I think of it like
So
that?
yeah,
So
it's
then
sort of, yeah.
so
Sure.
then so the claim is that when I do this, then I get a solution to the the negative cosmological constant Einstein equations.
Yeah. So this is due to, again, so your pure ADS3 or empty ADS3 slices the maximal number of symmetry whenever, and all the solutions in ADS3 are locally the same. So
Right.
we are looking at it, all of these pictures are single time slice. For example, you could think
Right.
of them as t is equal to 0 time slice. In t is equal to 0 time slice, we are simply looking at local pictures, and you could, the only differences are that you have to remove these semicircles and identify them, and then all these different local things are similar to pure ADS3 or empty ADS3, but the whatever difference between BTZ or a three boundary wormhole is there from empty ADS3, you can simply input them by removing these semicircles and making these identifications. They are enough
Yes.
to.
And just another question. So
Yeah.
is there some sense in which you can glue these things together? Is that a possibility?
Yeah. So that is how you do it. So you have to, when I say that you have to identify all the points from the red semicircle to the upper red
No,
semicircle
no,
to the
yeah,
lower red
I
semicircle.
didn't mean in one picture. I meant, let's say I take like the top picture and the bottom picture.
Okay.
Is if I glue this genus one kind of object at the bottom to the
Yeah.
other guy, is that also a solution? I mean, I'm just wondering.
Mm, for example, this, when you deal with Poincare upper half plane, you would have to only deal with you can only deal with upper half plane. If you want to glue it to the uh, below side, then it would not probably be a standard way, but you could
No. I'm saying, no. You work with the upper half plane, right?
yeah
And I'm saying that you move. Let's say you take the two pictures on the rightmost, the top and the bottom pictures on the right,
yes yeah
right? So I'm asking if you can glue one to the other, and if you can, I don't know. It's just a vague
yeah
question,
sure.
I guess.
For example, had you just introduced these two semicircles in the upper picture as well, you would get a genus inside this part, but the
Ah, I see. I see. Okay.
yeah
Okay.
yeah but I suppose there would be also every time you make this kind of thing, one boundary will also be decreased in here
Right.
after
Right. Right.
translation.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Hi, I have a question. I'm
Yeah.
having some trouble going from the middle diagrams to the right diagrams. Can you maybe explain what is happening?
So I would say that the middle guy is simply representing that from a cylindrical coordinates of ADSC, how would your how would your removing semicircles look like? But the easier way to realize this, the right hand picture is from leftmost one. So you just identify these two, so these become a single red line, and if you identify this with this one, then this becomes this, and whatever is remaining becomes the black line. In this case as well, you simply take these two and pinch them in a way so that this comes in here and introduces a genus, and this red lines again become a single line, and they constitute one boundary simply. But there are no simply these blue ones in the same side which you are identifying. So there are no this kind of blue line which is giving you two new boundaries.
Can I try and help Prashant with that?
Yeah.
Uh,
Sure.
so Prashant, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, just imagine it like this. You take the leftmost, let's say the top left diagram, right? And then what you do is you just pick up the larger semicircle off the plane and then move it in a circle so that it matches with the lower semicircle, right? So that will give you a cylinder, right?
Yeah.
And since there's an identification with the same orientation, you get that red line on top,
Okay. Yes.
right? And once you have the identification with the one red line on top, you have the top of the cylinder represented by the left intersections, the intersections to the left of the origin, let's say, and you have the bottom of the semicircle with the intersections.
Actually, hang on, 1 second. I
Yeah,
have a, okay, so firstly, this bottom, the inner semicircle,
right.
in the split, I was imagining that it would be, I mean, if you didn't remove that, you would have a line in the center of the cylinder. Is that right? And, or no?
Sorry, I'm saying that you make them the same line.
Okay.
And
Yes.
you make them the same line in the sense that you pick up the outer guy, outer
Okay,
cylinder,
okay,
right?
okay,
And
thanks.
then you rotate it into like the inner guy,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
then you see that you'll have like the bottom end of the cylinder will have like two blue kind of like little loops.
Right. Yeah.
And if you once again, if you do the same thing, if you just pick them up and put them on each other, then you'll get the picture on the right. And I think the same
Yeah.
is true.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So now let me go on to describe what is the multi-boundary wormhole model of Highline. So what they consider is a topology changing model with time, but they really don't take a Lorentzian evolution of these multi-boundary wormholes, since in that case, the wormhole should be growing with time. But what they say is that we are modeling, or we model the evaporating black hole as a bigger black hole exit among all of these exits of a in-boundary wormhole, and we would take other exits to be a lot smaller than the bigger exit. So the bigger exit would shrink with time since it's radiating, and the smaller exits would,
Sorry.
for example, yeah. So,
Sorry. So
yeah.
who is they and what are exits? Can you just please clarify?
Yeah, sure. These are the exits, right? So these are the, so for example, here you have removed these semicircles, and so the
Oh, okay.
exits
That's what
are
you're calling exit.
A and
Okay.
B. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
For example, here in the two boundary case, this is one exit and this is one exit.
I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So we would take one of them to be much bigger than rest of them, and at each time step we would increase one more exit, which can't really be realized through a Einstein equation dynamical evolution perspective. So from a dynamical perspective, you can't realize this topology change from Einstein's equation, but if you take different snapshots at each time step, then you could say that the number of exits is my analog of time, and say as time increases, my number of exits increase. So, and all these smaller exits that gets created at a later time or at each time step, they are modeled as the Hawking quantas being radiated from the bigger exit, which is a evaporating black hole. So these will become clearer as I show you more pictures. So yeah, so what the question they do not address in this paper, but which is an important one, is when are these connected geometries at the dominant ones in the bulk path integral. So at times there can be, the connected geometry can be dominant, and at times the disconnected ones can be dominant when you don't have a wormhole at all. So when are these, the wormhole geometries are the dominant ones? They do not have a concrete comment about it, but this is a simple toy model which they deal with, and where simply the number of exits is your analog of time, and number of exits increase at each step. So the idea is to start from a yeah, the idea is to start from a single pure state black hole, uh, where as I said, the bigger exit keeps shrinking, and it evaporates by radiating ADS-sized black holes, each placed into its own separate asymptotically ADS spacetime. So a new exit is created at each time step, and the geometry connects at least starting from 3 boundary scenarios. So by connecting, what I mean is, so the main idea of this model would be to use the fact that we can model, we can tune the throat horizon lengths independently. And for a 2 boundary wormhole, you have two
Can I ask
boundaries.
a question?
Yeah, sure.
What do you mean by additional tuning of moduli?
Sorry.
What do you mean by additional tuning of moduli? In the past slide, you had mentioned about tuning of moduli.
Yeah, so I'm also, this part I'm also not sure about this one. This is just a comment that they had made. But what is the exact reason that they make this comment, or what is the physical, why do they not consider the disconnected geometries where the wormholes are not present? That comment is not clear in their paper as well. So I have simply, I don't know exactly about what they mean in here, but I simply put it in here as a comment that they made.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so for a 2 boundary situation, you would have only one throat horizon. So you have 2 boundaries, but you have only one throat horizon. So you cannot really tune it independently, or there is no meaning of tuning it independently. By tuning it independently, I mean if you have n boundaries and n throat horizons, you wish to have the power, or you have the power to tune all of the n lengths independently of each other. So that you could take one of them to be much bigger to start with. For example, the evaporating black hole throat horizon to be much bigger than the Hawking quanta throat horizons. And the initial state here would be to, let's start from a 3 boundary wormhole to be the initial state, where the black hole has only evaporated 2 Hawking quantas, 2 newer exits. And with time evolution, so for example, when it didn't even create those 2 newer exits, only the black hole was present. You could think of, still you could think it of as n boundary wormhole, but one of the exits would have a highly excited CFT2 as the larger exit, and all the smaller exits which haven't appeared still, you could think of as it being in a product state with this higher excited CFT2, and all of these smaller exit states at this point are vacuum states. But when they will be really introduced, or they will really appear in the picture, then they will have also black holes, smaller black holes. So they will also be not as highly excited CFT2 as the bigger exit, but excited CFT2s.
One second, I have a question.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
are you going to talk about why these exits are created? Like, or what exactly?
No, that's what sort of is also bypassed in the while introducing the model. But what I will try is to how much can we, since in this model you can get a page curve, you can reproduce a page curve and have intuitions about several things that are happening when you introduce what is called an island. So we will try to extract, we'll try to see what can we extract from this simple model. But there are questions, surely there are questions yet not addressed about how are these new exits created, and what would they mean from a bulk dynamics perspective, since the topology is changing at each step. Those questions are not well addressed yet now, but there are some ways to address them, and maybe in the very last slide or so I'll come back to this point.
Okay, but I have another question.
Yeah.
So how many black holes are there? Are they, like, I don't know, I don't
So
understand.
there would be a very there would be, if you have n exits, there are n black holes, but in this model we assume that the we start with a very big black hole, and all the other exits would have a smaller size black holes. So these bigger size black holes are modeled as the evaporating black hole, which would get smaller with time. And these newer exits are, or newer black holes that appear in newer exits of the multi-boundary wormhole. They are the modeled versions of created Hawking quantas, the smaller black holes that are created at each time step.
So just to be clear, you mean that, I mean, should I think of it as all the black holes are already there and then one is getting smaller and therefore the others like just don't turn up or
No,
something?
to
Because
begin
that's
with,
what it
there are,
is.
the very initial state is simply you have the uh, bigger exit or the bigger black hole. There are no smaller black holes. So you could assume the smaller black holes, or if you want to assume them as CFT states, at that point, they are like CFT vacuums. But when you really have a connected geometry or wormholes connect these, when a black hole is considered in this vacuum, then you would have an excited CFT state and the wormhole connects it with the bigger black hole at that point. Before that,
Okay.
you would assume it as a vacuum state, but the bigger black hole would be a highly excited CFT two state.
So
So
you're
that's,
saying one of two, you're saying either that, like, I mean, are you saying that the black holes will be created eventually? Or what
yeah, yeah, yeah. So the, again, if you
so you're
really
saying,
want to look at the creation process of these black holes, you have to go through this dynamics through which the new topology is generated, which hasn't been well answered till now. But the idea is that the bigger black holes are modeling created at each time step, and the smaller black holes are created at each time step, and they are the Hawking quantas.
okay. So you're saying that a big black hole is evaporating and small black holes have been created. This is how you're interpreting this.
Yeah, yeah, at each step.
Okay.
Can you go back to a previous slide, please?
Yeah.
Back. Yeah. So maybe one more actually. Maybe that would be good.
Okay.
Okay, no, not this one. Go back again. Right. So can I think? I just want to understand what you're saying. So you're saying that let's say I start off with just the red circles on the left hand side,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right? So that's
Yeah.
your t equals 0, say. Okay.
Yeah, you could say, but no, not really. It would still have, in this case also, you have two boundaries, right?
Right.
If you have two, the red semicircles are removed, so you have
Right.
a BTZ, but
Right.
you want to start with a single black hole, and newer black holes are created. That's why I mentioned that we would only be able to realize this model starting from a three boundary case. So you at least need three boundaries to make the newer exits that are created, or model the newer exits as smaller exits.
I see.
So for example, in this picture, you could say that the this part that I'm marking is the bigger black hole, and this is one of the smaller black holes, and this makes another smaller black hole.
I see. And then
It,
you'll
yeah,
have at each time step you'll have
it,
more of these small
smaller
semicircles.
exits. Yeah,
I
and
see.
this red line will shrink, keep shrinking.
Ah, I see. I see. Okay. And the comment that you made about the dominance in the path integral is basically saying that, are you saying that
Yeah.
there is some difficulty getting control of how actually dynamically this happens? But you're saying that you
Yeah.
expect these geometries to be relevant in the path
Yeah,
integral?
they would surely exist, but whether in a bulk path integral, uh, these different black holes are connected or not, or
Uh-huh.
they are really connected through a wormhole or not, that gives rise to different situations. So whether if they are connected, or they are the dominant ones, then this goes
I see. I
well,
see.
but otherwise, yeah,
But that's
these are
still
some
to be
things that
seen.
have, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
That,
All right.
so this is a picture that I wanted to, for example, this is a time step, and you have a bigger exit. This is an octopus kind of a picture in which you have three Hawking quantas, and For each of them, the Hawking quantas, the throat horizons are, the throat horizons are much smaller than the bigger black hole throat horizon or the evaporating black hole throat horizons. So this is L0, and this will keep shrinking at each time step. So I have written it as L0 prime, but at each time step, one new Hawking quanta or one new smaller exit would be created, and all of them would have this. Since we can model the throat horizon lengths of this, all of these throat horizon lengths independently, we would always model this smaller throat horizon lengths to be much smaller than the L0, but they will be equal to each other, which is small l. The small l is far less than L0 to begin with, but with time, L will remain the same, but L0 will keep shrinking. And so the initial, so these throat horizons are what I will call the choices of HRTs, Rutakanagi choices. So for the, if you look at, these are the, from the radiation perspective, these are the radiations. So the smaller exits are the radiation quantas. And when you are talking about entanglement between the combination of the smaller exits and the black hole, the initial choice of the HRT surface would be some of these smaller L length throat horizons. So both L0 prime and combination of these L's are homologous to the combination of the Hawking quanta states, but initial choice of the HRT surface, or among these two choices, which is L0 prime and NL to be precise, if there are n such smaller exits, you would have n such throat horizons of length small l. So there are two choices of HRTs, NL and L0 prime. For the initial steps, or for a lower value of n, NL will always be lesser than L0 prime. But as L0 prime keeps shrinking, at a later time, L0 prime, when n is n is larger, L0 prime would be the minimal choice, or L0 prime would be lesser than NL. So in what rate L0 prime shrinks it with n value, this is something called, I would rather call it energy conservation, but you could also call it information conservation. So in case of ADS3, the entropy and energy relation goes like this. S is proportional to root of E. And so since entanglement entropy is also proportional to the length in case of ADS3, the codimension 2 would simply mean length. So L is proportional to root E, and if you simply conserve the energy when the black hole started the emitting smaller black holes, the bigger black holes started emitting smaller black holes. If it had length L0, and later at some later time it has L0 prime, then L0 prime can, using the energy conservation, L0 prime can be written as root over L0 square minus NL square. So before page time, which can be related by this at certain n value, which is of L0 over L, it would be similar to L0 over L. At that value, the L0 prime would be the choice of HRT surface, and L0 prime, remember that L0 prime keeps shrinking with time. So this would get smaller when and this thing gets larger with time as new and new Hawking quantas are emitted. So if you plot the L0 prime or minimum among NL and L0 prime with N, then you would get a page like curve. So up to this point, NL is smaller than L0 prime, and after this, L0 prime is smaller than NL. So you get a page curve for this model. And to understand what are the islands, the way to understand it is the following. So initially you had these to be the entanglement wedges of the Hawking radiations. So these parts of this octopus. But at a later time, when L0 prime is your HRT surface for the Hawking quantas, you would have this added region between the green dotted line and these red dotted lines. This part is not dual to any particular boundary region. This is not dual to any of these exits individually. Only if you take all of them as a combination, you would get this part to be dual to that region at a later time. Also, the same would be for black hole. This would not be in the entanglement wedge at a later time for a black hole. For the black holes also, since these are the minimal choices of HRT surface for the initial times, and this will be the HRT surface choice for the later time. So the initial entanglement wedge would be starting from this region to the red region for the black hole, and the later would not have this region between L0 prime and NL. And this new region that from the radiation perspective, the new region that gets added to the HRT or the entanglement wedge of the Hawking quantas at page time can be thought of as an analog of the island, which is simply in case of islands also you had them to be dual to a dual to not any particular boundary regions, but only a bulk subregion. So now I'll try to make a few comments on or what I did in the previous paper, which appeared in March. So I would try to make this picture look like something which would give us another perspective into this model. So I'll talk about something called entanglement of purification. So measurement of entanglement for a given mixed state. So entanglement of purification measures the entanglement for a given mixed state between parts of the mixed state. So we know that what entanglement entropy or von Neumann entropy does is it measures the entanglement between two parts of a pure state. So if you have a pure state and if you divide it into two parts A and B, then von Neumann entropy measures between the entanglement between these two parts A and B, but your A plus B has to be pure. But if you have your A plus B is mixed already, then von Neumann entropy doesn't give you really a good measure of entanglement between this mixed state itself. So if you have a mixed state to start with and you want to measure entanglement between two parts of the mixed state, entanglement purification is the measure that sort of gives you a good idea of how entangled they are. So let's start from a mixed state which we can divide into two parts, A and B. And then entanglement of purification simply means you have to add newer auxiliary systems to this AB called A prime and B prime and in a way that AB plus A prime B prime is a pure state. And then so there can be many possible ways or many possible choices of this A prime and B prime that you could add, and you would get to different purified versions of this mixed AB state. But the entanglement between A and B would be represented by the von Neumann entropy between A prime and B prime, because here also again von Neumann entropy gives you a good measure because A prime and B prime as a combination makes a pure state. So among all possible prime choices of A prime and B prime, you have to choose one that minimizes the von Neumann entropy between A prime and B prime. So this is something called the bipartite entanglement of purification, because the mixed state you divide it into two parts A and B, but you could in principle divide the mixed states into a multipartite scenario, say starting from A1 to AN. And how would you define then your multipartite entanglement of purification? The way is to again introduce auxiliary systems starting from A1 prime to AN prime, and then you minimize the summation of all the entanglements. So, for each AI, you measure the entanglement of purification between that AI and the rest of the system. So if you take A1, you'd have SA1, A1 prime, and this would mean that A1, A1 prime, and A2 to AN is considered to be your B for that case. And for a multipartite scenario, you would take sum over all of these choices of AIs, and you would minimize the sum. So the holographic dual to this, yeah.
Sorry, I just want to
Yeah.
like the multipartite is too complicated for me, but the bipartite entanglement of purification, you're saying that you want to measure the entanglement between A and B when A plus B is a mixed state, right?
Yes.
And what you do then is you purify your state by enlarging your Hilbert space, adding some other stuff, right?
Yes.
And then you are working in with a purified state, and in that purified state, what you do is you compute now the von Neumann entropy that minimize you compute the von Neumann entropy that minimizes
one that minimizes the von Neumann entropy between AA prime and BB prime.
I see.
So
okay. And that
you
is a
could
measure
have all different.
So there are many possible purifications.
Yeah.
You do all of those purifications and you see which is the one that minimizes the von Neumann entropy between AA prime and BB prime.
Yes.
And this is a measure of
entanglement between
two parts of a mixed state.
State.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
A and B. So the holographic. So this is from a quantum information perspective. But the holographic version or the holographic dual of this entanglement of purification was suggested by Takanagi and Umemoto in 2017 or maybe start of 18, and they suggested that if you start from a pure radius 3 time slice, and then the way to realize mixed states in here is to again you could remove parts of this whole time slice. The whole time slice of or the Poincare disk would give you a pure state, but if you remove these two, this A and the combination of this A and B would give you a mixed state in a pure radius 3 time slice. So I have only removed this parts. I have not really introduced any identifications or so on. But so this is not a multi-boundary or two-boundary BTZ yet. But in this case, A and B, the combination of A and B is your is a mixed state. So in this case, the way you compute the entanglement of purification or the holographic dual of entanglement of purification is you consider what's called the entanglement wedge cross section, which is the minimal cross section among all possible choices. Or if you wanted to connect points between this geodesic and this geodesic, you would have all different choices of connecting dotted lines, and among all those choices you pick up one for which is minimal among all of them. And the way you can realize it to be the entanglement of purification, firstly it follows this entanglement wedge cross section follows all the properties followed by the usual entanglement of purification in the quantum information side. And secondly, you could think this bulk part as being your auxiliary system that you add. So the combination of this part and this part, the red marked lines, is your A prime, and this part and this part is your B prime. So before removing this semicircles, your radius 3 time slice was pure state. So you consider that instead of these geodesic, the boundary geodesic, you now consider a bulk geodesic and again get to a pure state, and which is called the geometric pure state by introducing this A prime and B prime regions in your bulk. And then the entanglement of wedge cross section gives you a good measure of entanglement of purification or the entanglement between this region A and this region B in a general mixed state AB. So combination of A and B is a mixed state. And when you add this A prime and B prime, you call the total state as a geometric pure state. So holographic dual of entanglement of purification is considered is conjectured to be the entanglement wedge cross section, and where AB is a mixed state and geometric geodesic are divided into A prime, B prime, and told to be geometric pure states. And bulk geodesics are analog of wormhole body. So you can probably already see that this picture is quite similar to what we had in case of wormhole, only you have to identify or wrap this up with this part, this two geodesics, this two bulk geodesics that makes your A prime and B prime. You have to wrap this up, but this entanglement wedge cross section remains invariant during that wrapping procedure. So the entanglement wedge cross section would be the throat horizon length in case of a two-sided BTZ, starting from a ADS3, empty ADS3 time slice. And A and B in the parts of the mixed states, A and B, are similar to the boundaries of the two exits of BTZ, the boundary parts of the, or the two exits of the BTZ, two-sided BTZ. And in case of a two-sided BTZ, you would have a black hole leaving at each exit, which is in general a mixed state. When you have really, if you have one exit, then we consider a pure state black hole. But if you have two exits, then you have already two mixed state black holes. So in that case, your wormhole body joins the black holes to make them a pure state. And in this case also, the similar geodesics are considered to give you a geometric pure state that defines a well-defined notion, that gives you a well-defined notion of entanglement of purification in the holography side. So the question is, can we extend this analogy to the multipartite entanglement of purification case? And the starting point would be to look at the holographic dual of multipartite entanglement of purification, which was done, introduced by Umemoto in 2018. So what he says is that if you have three such regions, A, B, and C, for example, you and then your multipartite entanglement of purification would be a, or in rather in this case, it is a tripartite entanglement of purification. The orange dotted lines are sort of the A primes in the AI primes are the different origin lines correspond to those, and the sum of them you want to minimize. And the geometric construction that is made in Umemoto's paper, one can prove that the minimal one is the one where the boundaries of these different orange lines coincide. And so the sum of all these different orange lines would give you the multipartite entanglement of purification, for which gives you a tripartite, or rather in this case tripartite entanglement of purification. And similarly, which in case of wormhole situation, where you in the previous case we identified the throat horizons to be similar to the entanglement wedge cross section, but if you have a three boundary wormhole, then your C1 and C2 are in these two sides, but you could also draw it in a different way, where you would simply draw your ABC regions to be like this. Of course, you would, in an evaporating situation, you would take A to be much bigger than B and C. But in this case, one would see that the throat horizons do not, in a multipartite case, the throat horizons do not in generally, the boundaries of this different orange lines do not in generally match with each other. So there would be some part of this anchored geodesic in between these two orange lines. These red parts are different things that I have marked here. And in the previous picture, in the octopus picture that we saw earlier, so this region was the analog of island. So this is the analog of island region in this picture, but in general, it doesn't really, these orange lines do not close by themselves. So there is some difference when you have a tripartite entanglement of purification, between a tripartite entanglement of purification and the boundary of the island region for a three boundary wormhole. But we should remain, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that one would have to test if the right hand side picture. Sorry, what is, so over here, what is the analog of the perimeter? Do you want to just add the lengths of those orange lines? Is that the analog?
Yeah.
like on the left hand side, what you said was that you have A, B, and C, and you
Yeah.
have these orange lines.
Yeah.
And what you do is you want to take the sum of those orange lines and you want to minimize that, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the analog of minimizing the von Neumann entropy between A prime, B prime, C prime, so on,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
on the right hand side, you want to do the same thing. So the basically the sum of the orange lines again in the right hand side is the
Some
object
of
you're
the
looking
orange
for.
lines doesn't give you really something, but some of the orange lines and these red lines in here would give you the boundary of the island.
Okay, I see. But okay, so orange plus red,
Yeah.
does that satisfy all the properties of that you would expect from an entanglement of purification?
Yeah. Because these are no. Firstly, uh, this thing satisfies all the properties of a bipartite entanglement of purifications and also the throat horizon of a two-sided BTZ. So we wanted to see that whether so all the properties of a multipartite entanglement of purification scenario is only followed if you have such a curve or such a multipartite entanglement of purification orange line, which the boundary of which join with each other. So otherwise you would not have the properties to be satisfied in general for a
I
multipartite
see.
case.
I see. I see.
But in this case, we see that they do not join with each other. They would have a red
That
part
red
in
gap.
between them.
I see. I see.
Yeah, but this is only for the region where you have three boundary wormhole, right? But the island really appears when you have a n boundary wormhole or your n is relatively larger than 3. It has to be 10 or 14, like something like that. In case of the model that we took, or maybe it would also depend on the L0 and small l that you begin with. When you put numerical values to L0 and small l, how what ratio do you divide them to be in? That would depend on how these lines are there. So at what n value the islands appear. So in this case, the islands, to be precise, the islands is still not there for three boundary wormhole. It would actually appear for a larger n value. And what you could consistently show by drawing more and more pictures in this scenario, that this red part should get less and keep decreasing as you introduce more and more subregions in here to define more and more boundaries in your wormhole model. So in case of
I see.
a 10 boundary wormhole, this red part should get relatively smaller, and this would, the boundaries of the orange things almost match each other. So the idea is that at a large n value at which the island really appears in the situation, or this orange line is the chosen minimal surface over the combinations of the other orange lines. That is the time when the island really appears in the scenario, and that corresponds to a large n value. At those large n values, these red parts would get decreased and the boundaries of the orange lines will again join with each other, and they would correspond to, they would be sort of, the properties they would follow will again be similar to the properties followed by a multipartite entanglement of purification.
I see. So I just want to
Yeah.
say that so we're 1 hour in. So I just wanted to. I
So
don't want to rush you, but
sure,
like
sure,
yeah, just
yeah.
just
Yeah. So yeah, again, so the in the most general setting, the island contains regions from the identifying geodesics or the red parts, but in a but the multipartite entanglement of purification doesn't. But in case of large n value or large n limit, they tend to match with each other. So the boundary of island is sort of your multipartite entanglement of purification, and there are a few subtleties involved if considered so, which are, for example, that so the way through which I really mentioned in the abstract as well, that this is a model which gives us a page curve from a post-grained perspective, is that in an actual quantum extremal surface scenario, what you can calculate is the boundary of the island. You calculate that over 4G, and also a bulk entanglement entropy, which is sort of the entanglement in these regions. So which is a, if you consider the bulk to be a one higher dimensional field theory, and you apply gravitational replica trick to consider to calculate your von Neumann entropy there. So the sum of them is extremized and then minimized over all choices of possible islands, and then you get the quantum extremal surface. But here in this picture, what all we consider, because we model our Hawking radiations to be smaller black holes as well. So the picture is completely gravitational or classically gravitational, classical gravity picture. So in this picture, we don't really calculate the S usual. What all we consider is simply one bulk Ru-Takayama surfaces. So from that perspective, if we naively think the way we would apply this quantum extremal surface formula would be to take the boundary of the island and this normalization of 4G. But the boundary of the island is considered to be the also the multipartite entanglement of purification, or rather this NLs, n number of smaller exits, and the decreasing bigger exit, which is L0 prime, they are both included in that case as the boundary of the island. So NL, which was increasing, and L0 prime, which was decreasing with time, they are both included in the boundary of the island picture, and the sum of them keeps growing even after the page time. So if you take, instead of the different HRT choices, if you naively apply the quantum extremal surface formula in this picture, you would get a contradiction or the usual Hawking paradox, in which case the, for example, for the initial case, you would have this small red line up to page time where there is no island. And then once the island is there, the boundary of the island would still keep growing instead of coming down, like this L0 prime plot. If you had chosen the L0 prime to be your later HRT surface, then that would come down. But if you consider, instead of HRT surfaces, you apply the bulk part or the bulk HRT surface or RT surface instead of RT surface, if you apply the boundary of the analog island, then it keeps growing. So naively applying the quantum extremal surface formula, even without the entanglement entropy part, bulk entanglement entropy part, gives you a contradiction in this picture. So you have to apply the different RT surfaces only to get the page curve. So the questions that this gives rise to is the boundary of the island has both NL and L0 prime terms in it. So whether, what does this contradiction means, or whether this is at all a contradiction or not. Also in the multi-boundary picture, it is crucial to model the radiation as a multipartite state. So you, to get a page curve, you need to model the Hawking quantas to be different smaller exits. You cannot really keep increasing the Hawking quantas throat horizon while you are decreasing the black hole, evaporating black hole throat horizon. So you cannot really do that. You have to, because you have to have at least 3 exits to realize this model. Then you would need to model the Hawking quanta state multipartitely. And so the second question would be, in the multi-boundary picture, since it is crucial to model it as a multipartite state, also there is another possibility where you simply model it to be a 3-boundary wormhole, where the bigger exit is your evaporating black hole, and the smaller ones are the smaller 2 exits to begin with are your Hawking quanta modeled, but the throat horizons of those smaller 2 exits keep increasing. So even in that model, you have to necessarily consider a tripartite or 3-boundary wormhole. But in that case, the multipartite entanglement of purification and boundary of island analogy would not hold, because in that case, for a smaller number of orange lines, the red lines would still be there. So for less number of smaller exits, the NL term will always be the minimal HRT surfaces. And also, should we really consider the multipartite entanglement of purification or the boundary of the island in the quantum extremal surface formula, since this is giving us a contradiction? So the resolution should be, so this is a very model specific problem. Ultimately, we can't really consider radiation as a multipartite. We don't usually consider the radiation to be a multipartite situation. So the actual way would be to consider it the combination of black hole as radiation to be bipartite. So there is an overcounting happening in the boundary of island situation, where we are overcounting the NL part. If we consider the boundary of the island where NL and L0 prime both are there, so this NL part is actually purified in the at later times when we have L0 prime as our newly defined HRT surface. Also, this bipartite nature can be realized since we are modeling all the Hawking quanta states to be to have much lesser length throat horizon than the evaporating black hole throat horizon individually. So NL at some point would be greater than L0 prime, but the smaller L without, when not multiplied by the L, N would still be lesser than L0 prime. We model it in such a way, and in this limit where smaller L's are, so for each Hawking quanta state, the throat horizon is much smaller than the evaporating black hole throat horizon. So this, in this limit, what Balasubramaniam, Hedden, Maloney, Marolf and Ross in the paper in 2014 showed that in this limit, the smaller exits are not entangled with each other. So all of the smaller exits really form one single state. They are not actually multipartite. The black hole and radiation state has to be considered as bipartite again. So the HRT surfaces and later times are the right choice. Naive application of quantum extremal surface formula, even with just the bulk minimal surface term, leads to overcounting. And so this was the previous work. So I will now just briefly go through the ongoing work for maybe 5 or 7 minutes, which is to mention what we are calculating now. So in case of considering the Rutakayanagi surfaces, and by motivated by the recent progress that was made in the complexity equals volume direction, Ali Shahia proposed the volume below the Rutakayanagi surfaces, not really the maximal time slice volume, but the volume below the Rutakayanagi slices, to be dual to mixed state complexity. So in ADS3, in a paper called Topological Complexity by Edminger and collaborators, they have shown that the volume change due to some choices of boundary region, but is purely topological. So when you change the boundary, or you take certain boundary subregions and you consider HRT surfaces corresponding to them. Now, if you are changing the subregion length, then your entanglement or HRT surfaces can, for disjoint subregions, your entanglement or HRT surfaces can change depending on which is the minimal choice of HRTs, and your complexity or the volume would also change correspondingly, and the change in volume is purely topological, which depends on the Euler characteristics of the boundary region that you are considering. So for example, if you are considering a boundary region A, and you have to necessarily define a cutoff when you are considering the all of this in the studies of entanglement or RT surfaces or volumes corresponding to them, you have to, it's necessary to introduce a cutoff to get rid of the UV divergence. And so this would be the volume that we are interested in, which is below the minimal surface. And this in ADS3 can be written in this form, where sigma is simply a volume integral, and you integrate over this region, starting from epsilon to some turning point value of R. And this can be written using Gauss-Bonnet theorem. You can write it as a line integral where the kg is the geodesic curvature and a Euler characteristic term, where for example, for this subregion of this RT surface, the Euler characteristics would be 1. So it is like a genus 1 surface. But for example, this, if you have two disjoint subregions x1 and x2, and you are measuring the entanglement with the rest of the system, you are not really measuring the entanglement between x1 and x2, but what you are measuring is entanglement between the rest of the system with the combination of x1 and x2. Then for smaller values of, for smaller choices of x1 and x2, the minimal surface would look like this. But if you keep increasing the size of x1 and x2, the newly chosen minimal surface would be this one and this one. So these are mentioned as two phases, and if you can compute the volumes for these two phases, they would differ by simply a 2 pi factor, which is again due to the Euler characteristics. So in this case, you have two disjoint subregions. The Euler characteristics is 2, and in this case, the entanglement wage is connected. So your Euler characteristics would again be 1, and they are they only differ by a 2 pi factor. So this study can also be done for a BTZ situation, where you instead of changing the subregion length, you change the mass of the black hole. So for example, in a general, if you write a general metric of ADS space, you would have a blackening function. If you take this, in this blackening function, if you take this m to be -1, you would get back your pure ADS. If you take m to be between -1 to 0, you would have a conical defect geometry. And if you have m bigger than 0, then if you have then you would have a black hole or BTZ situation. So for different m greater than 0 situation, you can again get two phases, which will again have a difference of 2 pi between them. So what are the different choices for BTZ situations? If you have a BTZ and if you change the mass parameter for that, there can be for this subregion in the boundary, you can have two different HRT surfaces. One is gamma RTA, which wraps the black hole or the singular part, and the other one would be which doesn't wrap. And the choice of one among this depends upon how how the black hole mass is. So for a bigger black hole mass, this would be the preferred minimal surface. So gamma RTA would be the preferred minimal surface. And for a smaller black hole mass parameter, this would be the minimal surface. So again, these two choices, the volumes corresponding to these two choices differ by a 2 pi factor. So motivated by these directions, we consider again the volumes corresponding to minimal surfaces at different times. So for a 3-boundary wormhole, so these are your Hawking quantas, and these are your minimal surfaces or throat horizons that you want to consider. We compute the volumes corresponding to these regions initially, and at a later time when this is the minimal surface, we also compute the volume of this region, purple region. For example, again, if we increase the situation to n equals to 3, for the primary choice, we would compute the volume of these regions, whereas for the later choice, we would compute the volume of these regions as well. So this region will be added. These regions will all, the green regions will also be there, but the purple shape region will also appear in the volume plot. And there are, but I'm not going to really talk about the parametric dependence of what we want to do, but has to be subtly done in this picture. But there are things that you need to take care of, because this length is shrinking with time, since the evaporating black hole throat horizon is shrinking with time. But with time, your removed semicircle number in this side is increasing, since you are introducing more and more smaller exits. So you have to also, with larger n values, you have to model your radius of this removed semicircle to be n dependent. And there are ways that you can do that, but in a way that you keep the lengths unchanged. So this length, this blue length, and this blue length is the same. You can do, but the r radius of these removed semicircles are changed to r prime, but the length remains the same. You could model that in that way, using again the formula that was derived in Caceres and collaborators' paper. So we do it in that way, and what we get that the volume initially increases, but at the point when the island is introduced, there is a sudden jump in the volume because the volume of the analog of the island region is added to the overall volume, and then the volume again keeps decreasing and gets to a zero value at some at the point where the evaporating black hole completes its evaporation process, and there is no more evaporating black hole, only Hawking quantas. So you sort of start from a pure state and you reach to a pure state again. And in this case, the wormhole is not really growing, but the body of the wormhole is shrinking with time, since the black hole, evaporating black hole, is shrinking. And when the evaporating black hole simply evaporates completely, there will be no connected geometry connecting the evaporating black holes to the Hawking quanta states. We also see this change for another model where we, instead of in-boundary wormhole, we model the Hawking quanta states to be bipartite. So this is the evaporating black hole, and these two are R1 and R2 are the bipartite Hawking quantas. So with time, this M3 will keep decreasing, and this M1 and M2 will keep increasing. So in that case also, we derive a page curve in this case, which was actually studied in the reflected entropy model paper that came recently. And in that case, if we study the volume, we see that there is also again an initial growth. And then when the island is added, you see a sudden jump. Then it again comes down to zero. And although this is this volume is largely differing from this volume, but this part still grows and this is magnified in this region. So, but after this choice is made, this part again comes down. So the lesson we sort of get from this volume calculation, which is an ongoing problem, there are other things that we want to see in here. So we derive a page curve analog plot for subregion complexity from the radiation point of view. The smooth transition point in page curve, in the entanglement entropy plots, for example, in this plot, at this n value, there is a smooth transition from this blue curve to this orange curve. But in case of volume, there is a finite jump. That would be a dip in case of if you consider the volume corresponding to black hole side. We considered the volume corresponding to the Hawking quanta side of the radiation side. So although the page curve is seen for radiation and black hole, when you consider the page curve for entanglement entropies, but the volume plot is not, reflecting the difference of difficulty in producing the corresponding time-dependent states to the black hole side and to the radiation side. So they are in general two different states if you consider them differently. Yeah. So this work we are doing, I'm doing in collaboration with Subhashish Maulik, Shivaji Roy, and Christian Norte, who is a postdoc in Augsburg. And the islands lie in the entanglement shadow that this idea we got from the previous work that I did, where you really see that the island is this region, which is behind all the throat horizons. So these throat horizons are sort of the regions through which this A part can have access to. So this region initially, neither C1, individual C, B, A, and so on, they can individually not have access to this island regions. So they are sort of like entanglement shadow regions. And this entanglement shadow regions, or this actually multipartite entanglement of purification side, is well connected to the quantum error correction developments in recent literatures. So since we have now sort of an understanding or we have developed a connection between island and entanglement of purification scenario. So the island and quantum error correction connections, are also a thing that can be studied in more details. And another thing to study is that we want to study is that in the topological complexity model that Edminger and collaborators studied, in that model they actually had reproduced the subregion complexity jump of 2 pi by a tensor network study, where this is the entanglement plot and this is the complexity plot. So here they did not consider an evaporating black hole situation, but you get a page-like situation because you are again sort of increasing the subregion that you are looking at, and they could reproduce the jump of 2 pi by looking at from a tensor network perspective as well, where you can give a meaning to the subregion complexity as the number of compression gates that you want to input to construct a mixed state or a density matrix. So the topological subregion complexity change was reproduced by tensor network studies using 2D Ising model. And we want to look that can the same be done for multi-boundary wormhole jump in volume. So similar to this model, this study that Edminger did, here also corresponding to a smooth transition in the entanglement entropy plot, they had a 2 pi jump. But in this case, we have a much larger jump. And for area, one considers in the tensor network study the number of tensor or bonds cutting the minimal surface, whereas for volume, the total number of tensor bonds within the minimal surface is considered, and along with all the tensors you associate sort of a cost, which gives you a meaning of complexity. There are another thing that can be done in this line, which is in ADS3 CFT2 setup, bulk areas and volumes can be reproduced in terms of boundary entanglement entropies using all the bulk geodesics connecting 2 points in the boundary. So the area is given, any minimal surface in the bulk can be given by the other bulk geodesics that are crossing that minimal geodesic, and the volume is given by the number of geodesics into the chord length inside the below the minimal surface. So we want to also look at this picture that we are studying from the perspective of kinematic space, and we want to see that in this multi-boundary wormhole model at different times before page time and after page time, what are the geodesics in a pure ADS time slice that contributes to these throat horizons and the island region, and which set of geodesic corresponds to the area and which set of geodesic corresponds to the volumes in multi-boundary wormhole at different times. And how can these different models be better understood dynamically is also a question. For example, how can you realize the topology change or the new smaller black hole creation purely from a construction point of view, using the idea that we have right now is to introduce some kind of fictitious parameter playing the, this is a typo, this should be the roll of time. And this is an ongoing work with Arnab Kundu and Ryan Patra. And so, as I mentioned earlier, more concrete connections between islands and quantum error correction in a more realistic model, for example, some model including JT gravity and so on, is also a study that can be pursued. And subregion complexity study in those models, including JT gravities and other scenarios where you, instead of a classical gravity model, you really study a quantum extremal surface. What would be the subregion complexity plot in those kind of study? Would we really see again a finite jump at the page transition point, or would the behavior be similar to what we saw in this multi-boundary wormhole models? It would be interesting to look at them as well. So thank you. I would like to stop at this point.
Okay, let's all thank Aranya for the talk. Okay, any questions?
Yeah, I had one.
Yeah,
Aranya.
go on, go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so initially when you said that when you started off with this picture of different black holes evaporating off, you wanted to model the radiation with that of the black hole as smaller black holes, right? Like that's the initial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So is there any maybe you might have gone through this after a particular amount of time? Is there a limit on the number of smaller black holes that you can have? It grows linearly with time, is it? But what is
So
this
there is
discretization?
actually the number of smaller black holes is your analog of time in here. You don't have any, since you don't have you don't know a way to really generate this new topologies with time. You simply take them as snapshots that you already have. Your
Yeah.
number of exits are the analog, is the analog of time in here. You
But
don't have any other time.
these have to be like discrete, right? So what is
Yeah,
what fixes the size of the smaller black hole? You might have gone through this, but I came in late. So what fixes the size of the smaller black holes with respect to this thing?
Okay, so what you want to say that how can I really model one black hole small? How can I say that one black hole is smaller than the other ones?
Yeah, and more precisely, as as time goes on, you are going to assign like the number of black holes are going to grow linearly in time. Let's say because you're taking
Yeah,
snapshots.
yeah.
But there is this parameter which would have to decide which would also decide the size of the black holes, right? So what is that going to be?
Oh, the size of the black holes you can simply do it by this. Initially, for example, for a 3-boundary wormhole, you would have to remove these two semicircles, these
Yeah.
two orange semicircles, and to make the size of the initial boundaries and the initial throat horizons to be much smaller than the throat horizon of the bigger black hole, you simply take these, the radius of these removed semicircles to be comparatively large, corresponding to this region, so that this region is small, this region is small, and so on. But as you keep introducing more and more horizons, you have to also keep decreasing the radius of these removed semicircles.
Okay. Okay.
So actually, there is one caveat in the study, which is in Caceres's paper also, and when they have shown that all the lengths of these different throat horizons can be tuned independently. But what about this last horizon, in which case in all of these middle horizons, you see that the two removed semicircles are of the same radius. So there is sort of a symmetry in the horizon length. But in the purple geodesics that are the last two, left extreme and right extreme geodesics, they are really, you have one radius to be r prime and one is r0. And in other case, you have r prime and lambda prime r0. So these horizons, they have not been able to really explicitly calculate the lengths of these horizons. But they have shown that in terms of parameter, you can show that it doesn't depend on the parameters that the other horizons depend on. So it depends on some other parameter. So in our model also, in our study also, we have sort of kept the length of this particular combination of this and this length to be equal to these lengths as a constraint or assumption point of view. In boundary perspective, we have n minus 1 of those horizons. We have exact results of one else, which corresponds to this purple horizons. We have kept as an assumption or constraint that they would be equal to the other n minus 1 horizons.
Another thing, you wanted, so this picture only works in max 3 dimensions, right? Of cutting out.
Yeah. Also, the multi-boundary wormhole pictures ideas are also sort of limited to mostly 3 dimensions.
So do you have any like idea as to how to visualize? So basically I understand that the motivation was, can you understand the page curve by doing a classical computation? And the trade is that instead of dealing with radiation, you want to deal with smaller black holes. You want to model radiation with black holes.
Yeah.
So, but can you so what if you want to take this idea to a higher dimension? Do you have any? Do you have any thoughts as such?
No, not as such, because to have such a thought, the ideal way to have an idea of how would you look at this picture in a higher dimensional scenario would be to firstly realize the multi-boundary wormhole models in higher dimensional situations. But that direction is not very open also.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, change the logo.
Hey, 1 second, Rohan, we'll get to that. Let me stop recording. Okay, if there are no more questions, then let's thank Aranya again. And I'm going to stop recording now.